Hi, fourth graders. This week we are going to be doing our review week for reading. So we're wrapping up our theme heroes. If you think back to the stories that we've read over the last few weeks, we read Happy Birthday, Dr. King. We read about Gloria Estefan and a biography about her. And last week we read Lou Gehrig's The Luckiest Man, where we learned a little bit more about people who are very courageous and reasons why they would be called heroes. And so this week we're going to read two shorter stories that fit into our heroes theme. We are going to read a story called Stormy, Mistys, Foal, and then a story about Sacagawea. So if we take a look at page 608 and 608A in our hardcover reading book, that's the page we're on right now. And it says, check your progress over on the left-hand side. It says, you have just met 3 heroes, each of whom rises to heroism in unique ways. Now you will read and compare 2 more selections about heroism and polish your test-taking skills. Before reading on, return to David Adler's letter on page 528 through 530. Think about the qualities displayed by the people in this theme. Which of those character traits do you think David Adler would find most heroic? Remember, fourth graders, we read that letter from David Adler, and he talked about how his all those different people in his lives were heroes. And we've been talking about, as we've gone through our theme, how a hero is our opinion. Heroes are opinions, because one person might think of someone as a hero, somebody else might think they're not a hero at all. And so a hero and their qualities are all our own opinions. So it says, now you will read about some unexpected heroes. As you read, think about what qualities the main characters both share. Do they remind you of yourself or someone you know? How do their quiet acts of heroism compare with the positive deeds of the other heroes you have met in this theme? So we are going to read Stormy, Mistys, Foal today, and it says, a fierce hurricane bears down on Paul's island home. Will this ordinary boy meet this extraordinary challenge? Read to find out. And tomorrow we are going to read more about Sacagawea. So here are our vocabulary words for our story today for Stormy, Mistys, Foal, and the words are lined up right across from their definitions. So we have foal, a very young horse. Oops. I don't know why my pen's not working here. Endangered is in the path of harm. Admiration is here we go. Okay. Admiration is a feeling of respect. A respirator is a device that helps someone breathe. A generator is a machine that produces power. And a rocking bed is a bed that helps people breathe by rocking from head to foot. So let's read on with our story, Stormy, Mistys, Foal. A powerful hurricane rages over the island of Chincoteague off the coast of Virginia. As the wind dies down, Paul Beebe and his grandpa set out on horseback to see what damage the hurricane has done. As they ride along the storm-tossed shore, they are stopped by the driver of a Coast Guard duck, and then we call it a duck, a large half-boat, half-truck emergency vehicle. The driver needs Paul and Grandpa's help in town. As Paul boards the duck, he worries about his prize pony, Misty, who is about to have a foal. For now, though, he must try and concentrate on others who need him. As they turned onto Main Street, which runs along the very shore of the bay, Paul was stunned. Yesterday, the wide street with its white houses and stores and oyster-shucking sheds had been neat and prim, like a Grandma Moses picture. Today, boats were on the loose, bashing into houses. A 40-footer had rammed right through one house, its bow sticking out of the back door, its stern out the front. Nothing was sacred to the sea. It swept into the cemetery, lifted up coffins, and cast them into people's front yards. Up ahead, a helicopter was letting down a basket to 3 people on a rooftop. Grandpa gaped at the noisy machine in admiration. I itched to be up there, he shouted, lifting off the old and the sick. Paul, too, wanted to do a big rescue work. As if reading his mind, the driver turned to him. Son, he said, do you feel strong enough to save a life? Yes, sir. Good. You know Mr. Terry, the man who has to live in a rocking bed? Paul nodded. It rocks by electric, but he's got a gasoline generator now, Mrs. Terry was telling Grandpa last night. Yes, but along about midnight, the gas ran low. It took the firemen an hour to get through this surf and to deliver more gas to keep the generator running. He's still alive. Then what can I do? Paul asked. Plenty, son. The whole island's running out of gas, and until helicopters can bring some in, that respirator's got to be worked by hand. Oh, of course I'll help. The driver now turned to Grandpa. These folks, he said, indicating his passengers, are flooded out. We'll take them to the 2nd story of the firehouse for shelter. Then we got to chug up to Bear's Scratch Station to rescue a family with 6 children. Whoa, here we are at the Terrys. The duck skewered to a stop in front of a 2-story white house. Good luck, Paul. When the gas arrives, grab any duck going by and we'll meet you back at Barrett's store along about noon. Paul got out and plowed up to the house. The door opened as he stumbled up the flooded steps, and Mrs. Terry greeted him. Her face was pale, and there were deep circles under her eyes, but she smiled. You've come to man the generator? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, Paul stammered. I'm Paul Beebe. Oh, she smiled again. So you're the Beebe boy. You're the one who rescued Misty when she was a baby and nearly drowned. Yes, ma'am. And to think that now she's going to have a baby of her own. Yes, ma'am, any minute. All the while she watched Paul pulling off his boots and jacket. Mrs. Terry talked to him, but her head was cocked, ears alert, listening to the steady hum of the generator in the next room. We've got so little gas left, she said. The doctor says I'm to save it in case relief men get worn out. She led the way down the hall to Mr. Terry's bedroom. Paul blanched. Hospitals and sick rooms gave him a cold clutch of fear. But the moment he saw Mr. Terry smiling there in his rocking bed, he was all eagerness to help. Maybe he could do a better job than an old machine. Maybe he could pump stronger and faster so Mr. Terry'd get a lot more air in his lungs and his face wouldn't look so white. Mrs. Terry showed Paul how to work the controls. He's used to just 28 rocks a minute, she explained. No faster. Hi, son. The voice from the bed was weak but cheerful. It's good of you to help. Paul bent to his work, pushing up and down in steady rhythm, 28 strokes to the minute. Maybe, he thought as the machine minutes went by, now I can qualify for a volunteer fireman. He was glad he was used to pumping water for the ponies, and that set him to thinking of Misty. And the bittersweet worry rushed over him again so that he barely heard Mrs. Terry. How wonderful people are, Paul, she was saying. With their property wrecked and their own lives endangered, they are so concerned about us, and we aren't even Chincoteaguers. We just came here to retire. Paul heard the words far off. He was thinking, sometimes newborn colts don't breathe right away, and horse doctors have to pump air into their lungs with their hand, like this, like this, like this. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Would it be 28 times a minute for a little foal, or more, or less? How would he know? Why hadn't he asked Dr. Finney, the veterinarian from Pocomoke? Runnels and rivulets of sweat were trickling down his back. His face and hair were dripping as if he were still out in the rain. Paul, Mrs. Terry was saying, look, a whole beautiful tank of gas has come, and the duck man is waiting to give you a ride back. High time, too. You're all tuckered out, poor lamb. Mr. Terry smiled and shook hands with Paul. In my book, you are a hero, he said. And that's the end of our story. If you'd like to know what happens next in the story, you can find the book Stormy, Mistys, Foal in a library or probably find it on Amazon to purchase for yourself. It is part of a series about the horse Misty. There's a few books in the series that talk about Paul and his horses. So if you like the story, I would encourage you to check out the rest of the series. Have a great rest of your day, fourth graders.